So we got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. 2 days later, it's really clear that the American people said on election day, they don't care who or what Trump is. They don't care about how bad of a guy he might be. There are things they're angry about. There are things they want, and I'm voting for those things. And I don't give a damn if the candidate I vote for is an utterly horrible human being. That's what the American people said Tuesday. And as we get into this, it's their right. The American people on election day can say whatever the hell they want to say. It's their right. It's their day. And on their day, on election day, the American people stood in front of the world and they said to the world, I'm pissed off about A, B, C, D, E. I want changes on A, B, C, D, E. So I'm going to vote for this guy who is a horrible human being, but I don't give a fuck. I don't care because I want these things. I'd argue that though I completely understand the decision these people made, the American people made on election day, I'd argue that it might be a decision they regret. And I'd argue it's a decision with really dangerous ramifications. People talking about who's to blame. Who's to blame? And maybe blame's not the right word. How and why did Trump win? Who's to blame for Trump winning? How did he win? And again, I've spent time on some of these. To me, reason number one is Joe Biden just stuck around too damn long. Joe Biden should have said after the midterms in 2022, when Dems had a really good midterm, Joe Biden should have come out and said, I'm going to stick by my promise. I'm a one-termer. Boom. I'm not running for re-election. The Democrats then would have had a wide open 2-year primary. So when we talk about who's to blame for Trump getting elected, I look at Biden, right, a lot because he blew it. But we've talked about that. The Democratic Party is to blame. We spent a lot of time, and I've spent a lot of time for years now, talking about how arrogant and elitist and out of touch the Democratic Party has become. Regular good folk, regular average working class Americans, baby. The Democratic Party increasingly looks down on these people, doesn't understand these good folk, hasn't listened to them, and dismisses them. And so the Democratic Party is to blame. This bit Democrats in the ass on election day. But who's to blame? Or rather, MAGA, if you don't want me to use the word blame, who's responsible for putting Donald Trump back in the White House? Yeah, Biden a little bit. Yeah, the Democratic Party a little bit. But who's responsible for putting Donald Trump back in the White House? The American people. Plain and simple. By the way, as it should be. The American people are to blame. The American people, if you want this spin more, MAGA, the American people are responsible for choosing him, for putting him in the White House. And here's the twist. The American people, everybody who voted for Donald Trump knowingly voted for a bad person. Every Trump voter knowingly pulled the trigger for him, knowing that he's a bad guy. I've had enough conversations over the 6 years to know and convince me that the vast majority of Trump supporters know who and what he is. They know what he is. They know he's a liar. They know he's a bully. They know he's a coward. They know he's a cheat. They know he breaks the law. They know he's cruel. They know he spews hate. They know he really doesn't care about anybody but himself. Most Trump supporters know all of that about Trump. This is a really important point. Donald Trump's voters on Tuesday knowingly put a horrible guy in the White House. They knowingly put a pathological liar in the White House. They knowingly put a bully and a cheat and a criminal and somebody who likes sounding ignorant. Certainly somebody who's dishonest. Somebody that they could never trust. Like Trump's voters voted for somebody. They did this knowingly. And again, reminder, MAGA, before you yell at me, MAGA, this is your right. This was your right. This was your day. You have a right on election day, America, to put the devil in the White House. You have a right, America, to put a criminal in the White House. It's your day. You choose. All I'm saying is you knowingly chose a really, really bad guy. You knowingly chose somebody you'd never work for, you'd never work with, somebody you don't trust, somebody you'd never partner with. You knowingly put that guy in the White House. You knowingly put a guy in the White House who deep down all Trump supporters believe is a liar. I mean, a pathological liar. But they said, I don't care. Trump's voters on Tuesday said to America and the world, like, I know I'm putting a horrible human being in the White House, but I don't care. I don't care. With where I'm about to go here in a minute. You are a putz. Carolyn Holly Pritt just called me a putz. Oh, Carolyn, you don't think? Yeah, I think, Carolyn, I think most Trump supporters, maybe not his most hardcore supporters, but most Trump supporters know he's a phony and a fraud. He's a grifter. He's all the rest. They know that. They know he's a bullshitter. Most people who voted for Trump knows he's an utter bullshitter. Come on, Carolyn. To understand where I'm going, you need to understand this first point. Damn near everybody who voted for Donald Trump knowingly voted for a guy who they knew exactly who he was. They knew he was a bad person. They know he's a bad person. They know he's someone they would want nothing to do with, someone they don't trust, but they knowingly voted for him to become president. They said, I don't care. Joe, I don't give a damn what kind of guy he is. I don't. Because our immigration system's broken, because there are so damn many migrants in this country, because they're eating our cats and our dogs, because we have an open border, because there's crime on our streets, because the price of bread is too high, the price of butter is too high, because I'm sick of giving money to Ukraine. I'm sick of supporting the UN. I'm sick of us doing all these other things. I'm sick of CNN. I'm sick of how woke the Democrats have become. Ba 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 ba. All legit becauses, all legit reasons. I'm not questioning that, any of those. I'm not a Democrat. I know our immigration system's broken. I'm not a Democrat. I don't want an open border. I'm not a Democrat. We got a real problem with all these migrants in this country. We have too many people in this country illegally. It's been this way through Biden. It was this way when Trump was president. It was this way when Biden's president, when Obama was president. We haven't done anything about it. It's a problem. I get it. It's a real problem. Inflation a couple of years ago was a huge deal. The economy was in rough shape coming out of the pandemic. I get that. And I get why you're pissed off that the government's given money to help other countries around the world, including Ukraine. Even if I disagree with you, and I do, I understand it. It's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is this. This, to me, is the biggest story of the 2024 election. And I would argue the most dangerous precedent the American people have set. The American people said on Tuesday, character does not matter. The character of a candidate does not matter. Get lost with that, Joe. I don't give a damn about the character of a candidate. I don't. That's what the American people said on Tuesday. They said, I don't care how bad Trump is, our immigration system needs to be fixed. I get it. I get it. They wanted something. I don't care how bad Trump is, Joe. I don't care that he lies every time he opens his mouth. Joe, I don't care about that. Damn it. My grocery bills are too high. I want that fixed. I'm not making fun of these people. I'm not at all. I get it. I get it. Trump's voters made that logical decision. I want things fixed. I'm angry about stuff. Our politicians suck and they haven't fixed that stuff. So you know what I'm going to do, America? I'm going to send this pathological liar back to the White House. I'm going to send this bully and cheat and cruel person back to the White House. I don't care, Joe, because I want shit fixed. The American people told us character doesn't matter at all. At all. It's their right. The American people have that right to say that the character of a candidate does not matter. I'm voting on these things. The American people have a right, as I think I said yesterday, to vote for the devil. Vote for the devil himself. If they believe the devil himself will take them to the promised land. The American people on Tuesday said the character doesn't matter. If you're going to vote for the devil, if you're going to vote for a criminal, if you're going to vote for a pathological liar because you want stuff done, because you're pissed off about certain things, you're telling us it's okay, it's your right, but you're telling us the character of a candidate doesn't matter. And the beauty of this is, and this is why this is so like permanent and conclusive, because all politicians, right, on a spectrum, good to bad, all politicians fall somewhere in there, right? But with Donald Trump, he's the worst. He's character wise. And I know MAGA, I'm talking directly to you, MAGA. Even you would agree, MAGA, that Donald Trump, on that spectrum of good and bad politician, Donald Trump's like off the charts. He's the worst human being who's ever run for president. He's an utterly horrible human being. I know even you agree with that, MAGA. Again, in my final plea to voters the day before and on election day, I asked voters, in fact, it addressed this very question. Please put your own partisan interest to the side, the stuff that you want, and think of the country. If you vote for Trump, you're putting a pathological liar in the White House. That's really dangerous. Think of the country. If you vote for Trump, you're putting somebody in the White House who believes he's above the law. That's really dangerous. Think of the country, I plead with the American people. If you vote for Trump, you're voting for somebody who has pledged to be a dictator. That's anathema to America. That's really, really dangerous for the country. America, please think of that before you, above your own selfish partisan interest. If you vote for Trump, I said, you're voting for someone who's humanly incapable of putting the country's interest first. You're putting someone in the White House who's capable only of acting in his own interest. American people, that's really dangerous for America. Please put your country first above your selfish partisan interests. That was my plea. And every one of those, a pathological liar, he's a criminal, he wants to be a dictator, he doesn't give a damn about anybody but himself. That all goes to Trump's character. I got down on my knees. I got down on my knees the day before the election and on election day, and I pleaded with you all to please put the character of this man on the ballot. It will be dangerous for America. And in all fairness, you told me to get lost. You did. It was your day, election day, and you told me, no, Joe, sorry, bud, I want immigration fixed. I'm paying too damn much for eggs. Do something about that. You told me to get lost. That's your right. And you exercised your power on election day. You disagreed with me. You told me that Donald Trump's character didn't matter at all. You had a right to say that. And you had a right to act accordingly. You had a right to put a pathological liar back in the White House. You had the right to put a guy who told you during the campaign that he had an enemies list, a list of people he was going to use government to go after. He told us that. And you said on Tuesday, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Do something about all these migrants. That's what you said. Character does not matter. The character of a candidate, you said loud and clear, doesn't matter. And that was your right. That was your power. But I want to tell you, my American brothers and sisters, that there's going to be a cost to this. And I just want to tell you, my American brothers and sisters, that by telling all of the world that the character of the man or woman we vote for does not matter. Play it out. It won't matter anymore. Like, because you voted for Trump, because you knowingly voted for a horrible guy, then you can't complain about other horrible people who run for office. Now people will support pathological liars. People now will support criminals as candidates. People will support now candidates who say the most hateful, bigoted, racist things, and it won't cost them. It won't matter because character no longer matters. Fix it. Help me. Give me things. Give me what I want. You said. You opened the floodgates. I fear you did, America. You opened the floodgates to the worst of the worst now. Anybody now, any racist, any bigot, any fearmonger, any criminal, any liar, anybody who wants to be a dictator, anybody who wants to be above the law, any bully, any cheat. You just opened the door to allowing all of these people to run for office. And you opened the door, you gave permission, Trump voters, to Americans to vote for really horrible people. You did. And I worry about this, and I believe we're going to see more horrible people run for office because they've listened. They listen to you, right? Like people down in Central and South America when Biden got elected and he said, I'm not going to be Trump on the border. Come on in, baby. They listened. Migrants down in Central and South America listened and they came. The American people listened to you on Tuesday, Trump supporters. They heard you say, it doesn't matter, man, it doesn't matter how often a candidate lies to your face. It doesn't matter. They heard that. And so now we will see more candidates who lie to your face every single day. We will see more candidates who pledge to abuse the powers of their office, as Trump has pledged to do, because you said that didn't matter. You're going to see more, we're already seeing it, more candidates who are going to spew hate, who are going to say the nastiest things about women and minorities because you okayed it. You did. Now you got to live with it. Again, it was your right. Trump voters, it was your right to do what you did on election day. It was your right to say character doesn't matter at all because I want this shit. So it will be your fellow Americans' rights to say the same thing. When they elect a progressive president one day who is of a really shitty character, a bad guy, they're going to say to you, excuse me, you voted for Trump. I want to increase taxes, and this guy says he's going to increase taxes on everybody, this Democratic candidate. I know he's a pathological liar. I know he's a convicted felon. Like, you opened the door for Donald Trump is a convicted felon. Do you understand that, America? By saying that doesn't matter, you understand, right? That now will enable other convicted felons to think it's okay. I can run. And voters now can think it's okay. The other side did it. They put, by golly, the other side, they're going to say, this is what you did, Trump voters. My God, they voted for a guy who didn't even have the decency to concede when he lost an election. They voted for a guy who tried to overthrow an American election. They said they don't care. Trump voters on Tuesday said, I don't care that Donald Trump committed crimes trying to overthrow an American election. That's what Trump voters said. Because I want this. I don't know that it can get any worse than that. I don't know that a candidate for office can do any worse than that. Trying to overthrow an American election, but you allowed that. You voted for that. You said, Trump voters, it doesn't matter. So don't be surprised when the other side, when all sides now send more bad, horrible, dishonest, ignorant, authoritarian, cruel people to run for office. And don't be surprised when American voters now vote for dishonest, authoritarian, criminal, cruel, hateful people. You said character doesn't matter. I know maybe it sounds like I'm having fun with this. I'm not. I'm not. I don't think this is right. Like I'm all about, I want my policy things too, and I want the border fixed, and I want to keep my taxes low, and I want to keep helping Ukraine in their fight for freedom. So I believe in policy. I could just never. It gets to a point where I could never vote for a horrible person to give me those things. That's just me. I couldn't. Early on, after I turned against Trump 6 years ago, I had a really good friend, a Trump supporter, call me and ask me, Joe, how could you do it? You were his guy. You were just like us, man. You were a Trump supporter. How could you do it? And I said to her, I'm just going to say this. I'm still who and what I am politically. I said to her, Barb, I can't support any candidate who lies to me every time he opens his mouth, even if that candidate is giving me the things I want. I said, I'm not going to go any further than that, Barb. I'll just start and stop there. I can't support a pathological liar as a candidate, even if he's on my team. And that's just me. So there was no way I could ever vote for Donald Trump. I understand why you did, Trump supporters, Trump voters. I understand why you said I can and will vote for a pathological liar, Joe, because he's going to build a wall. Like, I disagree with that. But America, and by the way, Democrats, listen, I understand it. Because I've had, over the past 6 years, thousands and thousands and thousands of Trump supporters tell me just that. Honest. They've told me thousands of times, Joe, I don't care that he lies. I want a wall. Joe, I don't care that he wants to be a dictator. I want my America back. Joe, I don't care that he's a bully and a cheat. I don't. The liberals, Dems are evil. They're communists. Joe, I don't care that he breaks the law. I've had, again, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of Trump supporters over the past 6 years have told me this to my face. Joe, I don't care, they told me, that he thinks he's above the law. I don't care that he's a criminal. Dang it, did you see all these migrants in this country? Do you know how damn much our grocery bill was? They've told me that for 6 years. It's part of why I wasn't surprised with what happened Tuesday. They told America that on Tuesday. They said loud and clear, for one, they've been saying it for a while, but for once and all, for once and for all, man, finally, Trump voters said character does not matter. Trump voters killed character. RIP, rest in peace, character, baby. A person's character doesn't matter. A person's character is dead, baby. That's no longer a criteria for our candidates. It doesn't matter in a candidate. Trump voters killed character on Tuesday. It was their right, and they did it. Final thought, Trump voters. Because of what you did on Tuesday, you can't never, ever, 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 ever complain again about another candidate's character. You can't never, ever, 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 ever. I want to sing that. You can't never, ever, ever, ever. You can't never, ever, 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 ever. You can't never, ever complain about another candidate's character, Trump voters, ever again. I don't want to hear you say Kamala Harris is lying. I don't want to hear you say Josh Shapiro had questionable, shady business deals. I'm just making shit up. Pick your Democrat. Pick your Republican. Pick anybody. You can no longer complain, see, about a candidate's character. Trump voters, you can no longer go after a Democratic candidate's character. Man, Democrats could nominate a guy who's a serial sexual abuser and who's harassed. You know, if and when Democrats nominate a candidate for president who's harassed, sexually abused and harassed, an adjudicated rapist, sexually abused and harassed a couple dozen women, if Democrats ever do that, Trump supporters, do you understand? You can't complain about it. You can't do that anymore. You can't make that an issue because you voted for a guy on Tuesday who's had at least a couple dozen women file suits and complaints against him for sexual harassment and sexual abuse. You voted for a guy who's an adjudicated rapist. So it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter what a candidate does in his personal life. I think that's a bad thing. I think it's wrong. I think the character of a candidate should always matter. None of us are perfect. But when you weigh who you're going to vote for, it should be the whole package. Here's a candidate. This is who he is. This is what he stands for. This is what he says he's going to do. But this is who he is. It should always kind of, I think, for me, it all goes together. And if a guy is a convicted murderer, but he's going to cut my taxes like never before, I'm not voting for a convicted murderer. I'm not. If a guy's cheated on his taxes his whole gosh dumb life, but he's going to secure my border, I can't vote for that candidate. Character should matter. It should be a big part of the equation. But when you said, Trump voters, on Tuesday, when you said, I'm voting for an utterly horrible human being because I want this, you killed character. Character now, the character of a candidate now, is dead and buried. It does not matter. So get ready for a lot of bad, horrible, ugly character now running for office. And I love you, Trump voters. I love you, my fellow brothers and sisters. But you can't complain about anybody else's character ever again. Thanks for listening, everybody. My email, joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. That's all one word. If you want to yell at me respectfully, good, bad, and ugly, what you think of this podcast, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Criticize me. Give me a pat on the back, whatever you want. Shoot me an email, joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. All one word, joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. Be brave.
Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.